Welcome back to the United States of Consciousness podcast. My name is Tim,
My name's Dana.
and this is episode 4.
I'm super excited.
Today, we are talking about the law of vibration, which is the third Hermetic principle.
Yes. Everything is in constant motion.
That's right. This really connects to the other two principles that we've gone over so far, mind is all and as above, so below. This kind of connects the two together.
Yes, I am learning the pattern here that they are all connected.
They are all connected. And I've seen a lot of, or probably more than normal, people talking about the Hermetic principles all of a sudden. So it's either we're putting this out to the universe or people are watching our content. I'm not sure which.
Yes, it also kind of begs the question if the collective is coming together as well, because it's not
Mm,
just us talking about this.
that's right. So vibration is sort of the mechanism that links spirit, mind, and matter. And what this principle talks about is how everything vibrates, everything is in constant motion. And the level of vibration or the frequency that something vibrates kind of sets the higher the frequency, the closer to God. You ever
Yes,
think about it that way?
yes. Mhm, continue, please.
Because matter vibrates very slowly, right? And as we sort of like link the three dimensions of the matter, the physical plane, the mental plane, and the spiritual plane, as we sort of link these together, you can kind of think about it as the higher the vibration, the closer to ultimate reality or to pure consciousness.
So that's exactly what I was going to say a moment ago is I don't know if I think of it as closer to God, but I do think of it as closer to a higher consciousness and a higher level of a state of peace.
Mm, yeah, that's a good way to think about it. What's your definition of God that makes you disagree with that?
Well, so for me personally, I am Catholic, and for me, I don't think that God that is depicted by the church necessarily exists. I think that there's a higher power. But I don't think his name is God. I don't think he's male. I don't think he's male or female. I said he. I started that with he, but I don't think that entity is male or female. I think there is a higher power, but I can't say that higher power is named God.
So you don't use the term God because other people also use it to mean something different?
Yeah, I don't resonate with it the same way. I think that there is a higher power to connect with spiritually. I just think that humans need to make it something concrete to wrap their mind around,
Mm,
to absorb it and follow along. So for example, the Bible, I don't think the things that happened in the Bible actually happened. I think that those are fables to guide you to have a good moral compass. I don't think anyone's
hmm,
parting the sea today.
right. Yeah, my definition of God is everything and everybody. And sort
Yeah.
of like the ultimate consciousness is God, sort of the one consciousness that we all live in. But I'm
Yeah,
not going to let other people's definition because it's different mean that I'm not going to use that word. It just means something
for
different
sure.
to me.
For sure. For sure. I think it's also spirit, right? Maybe that's one and the same. God and spirit could be one and the same.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it could be. My
I think,
definition is a little bit more encompassing. It's all the physical, spiritual, and mental plane is all God.
yes, I do consider myself to be quite spiritual. I think that everyone doesn't deny that it exists. I think everyone just has a different name for it.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. What I like about this particular law and something that really stuck out to me was that w- vibration is constantly in motion down to the molecule, like the most tiniest piece of matter. And that rings quite like vibrantly, right? Because everything is created of matter, but where we extend with this principle is beyond matter and beyond science and a little higher level that I would call spirituality, right? Like, I believe that we are all energy and energy can't be created or destroyed, right?
Mm. Hmm.
So we are in constant motion.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And I think the Hermetic principles, they were sort of the first quantum physicists around. It seems like as we go through these, um, the conclusion on almost every single one is that, and science has realized what the Hermetic principles have been saying, in recent decades. They've realized what we could have learned centuries ago.
Brilliant. I'm truly elated. This is truly fascinating to me.
So, like the definition of frequency is s- how something moves in like cycles per second, right? So, like you said, nothing rests, everything is always cycling, oscillating, moving. And what I thought was interesting in this week's research that you've talked a lot about is about how each color sort of has a certain frequency and similar to sounds. And you talked about in the past, sort of the morphine of hearing sounds and seeing colors. Well, it's all based on the frequency or the vibration that each of those has.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's also a little fascinating about it is when I think about this, I think about nature. Have you ever seen those videos where someone will connect? I don't know precisely what it's called, but they'll connect a cord to a plant or a leaf, and that leaf will actually emit its own frequency and create its own sound.
Yeah.
Like, as humans, we only think about our human existence, but just because a plant isn't talking to us in English doesn't mean the plant's not talking. So it's like it's quite literally everywhere, from the plants to the birds to us. Like it's truly all interconnected.
Yeah, I have not seen that, but it makes perfect sense. And you could take that even further, say like matter, like the desk in front of you, the solid state, it's vibrating at a super low frequency, but it is vibrating,
Yeah.
and that's everything in the universe. So it's pretty interesting when you start to think about, you mentioned nobody's parting the seas. Like in theory, you could imagine if your mind is emitting a frequency and a solid state also has a frequency, like what you actually could do if you were to align those two things. And what I love about this topic and vibration in particular, we've been saying this for a long time, I think without realizing it. When people talk about vibes, you walk into an environment, what's the vibe? You hear music, what's the vibe? You have a relationship, what's the vibe of that relationship? What we're actually saying is how high does that frequency oscillate and how well does it match to where we are? And that is super powerful once you realize that. What I love about this, when two frequencies are, vibrating at the same level and they come together, their wave actually amplifies and the magnitude of the vibration that they have together, the power is actually much greater. And I think in relationships, it's the same exact way.
I completely agree. I think we touched on this a little bit last week about. So last week, I think we spoke a little bit more about your own internal frequency and emitting like authenticity and things like that. But in this week, we get to expand further outside of ourselves and something that's much bigger than ourselves. Um, but I completely agree. If you're emitting a frequency, you're going to attract that frequency back to you. and that's going to come together and match, right?
Yeah, and you touched on this earlier, but you're exactly right. When you look at David Hawkins' level of consciousness, what he's actually talking about is the frequency that your soul emanates, right? Or that your level of consciousness emanates. And the higher that frequency, the it's only more positive as you go up. And, like shame and guilt, they vibrate at a very low frequency. And that's actually what we're talking about when we're saying level of consciousness.
So it reminds me of what you had touched upon last week, which is how powerful our thoughts are. And if you are having chaotic thoughts and it's chaos inside, it's going to be chaos outside. And that's what that reminds me of. And so if you're not mindful, right, like that great guidance you gave last week about being mindful of your thoughts, if you're not mindful, you are going to radiate that frequency and ultimately attract it back to you.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And we talked a lot last week about this, but the mechanism for how this actually happened. And this week in researching, it really clicked for me as well, the mechanism for what we're talking about, how it actually operates. And that is sort of the frequency that we're emanating, which is the vibration that we carry and that the things around us carry. And a messy room is a messy mind, right? It's everything out of order and in chaos that vibrates at a very low frequency that brings us to that level. And that's why I think it's so important to surround yourself and be in relationships with people who your frequency matches, because the power, it doubles. And when you're in a group of people, right? If you think about um group think, or if you look at like
Oh, yeah.
a football stadium, for example, when everybody is like at the same moment singing this super high vibration song, and you just get goosebumps, right? You can almost feel it through the screen without even being there, just because the vibration of all that energy that comes together is so powerful. I just think that's the coolest thing in the world.
Fun fact. So, there was a study done when Taylor Swift did her Eras tour. And what they did was they measured the volume coming from each stadium during every era. And they found that the Reputation era emitted the largest sound and the largest frequency, and it trended all the way through her tour. And so when you think about that feeling of being in that stadium and singing along and that energetic rush you're getting, like it's powerful. It's quite real.
For us, non-Swifties, can you tell us what that era represents? What does that mean?
So, okay, her Reputation era is one of her albums. And for her, she was having a rough time with a few other celebrities. And so she had dived into this mantra of there will not be any explanation, only reputation. And so it's just one of her pieces of work that happens to be quite popular amongst her fan base.
Interesting.
hmm But it scientists found that it radiated the most sound and vibrated the loudest, like through the earth and through the stadium, and the frequency was the highest during that time, during that album she covered.
That's very cool.
I'll have to find the articles and share them online.
There's another study, I think his name is Emoto, and what he did is he exposed molecules to different, words and intentions, and basically different levels of consciousness or different frequencies of thoughts. And what he did was he would expose them to that, and would actually freeze them. And the shapes that the water molecules would freeze in, some of them are just absolutely amazing. So you should check that out. And like the higher the frequency, so the more positive, the more beautiful and complicated and expansive the
Wow.
water molecules would freeze him, and sort of the lower vibration, lower frequencies, it would be all jumbled up in a bit of a mess.
And so you actually got a visit oh my goodness. You actually got a visual representation of it that you could see that was
Yeah,
tangible.
absolutely. It's pretty cool.
That's a good example of vibration in the physical plane.
Yeah, exactly.
It is pretty fascinating because water, it's still water, but when you change its environment, so whether it's cold or whether it's hot, it's still water, but it takes on different states of being. Which begs the question, do we take on different states of being when we're in different environments? There was a study done around addiction. And so these mice, they're in the cage, and I think they had some type of water. And without a doubt, so this mouse is alone and tried and true. This mouse drank the drug water. And then they did the experiment again, drug water still in the cage, but the mouse has other companions. And so what they found was that when the mice had companions and connection, they actually didn't even want the drug water, right? So your environment is incredibly important in who you surround yourself with and your energetic matches. And when you isolate, you go into that really low vibration. I mean, humans are social creatures.
Yeah. I think it's kind of hard to even communicate how important this principle is. And it gets more on the edge of metaphysical, but it really doesn't. Like if you can even conceptualize the other principles, then this just ties them all together. But at the same time, it's, we all live our daily lives without sort of thinking about the vibration that we're emitting or the vibration that we're accepting. And, we talked about the double slit experiment last week, but this is really how you explain the observer effect, where, you know, photons that are shot through a slit when they're observed, the vibration of the observation is actually being recorded in the data. And when it's not, it acts as a wave, which is basically an undefined moment that can be anything once the vibration of a thought or an observation is put towards it. It's just super powerful. And it's probably the most important thing that we've talked about because it's what we can actually do. It's one thing to understand or to begin to understand, but a lot of this is so like big and hard to prove and hard to conceptualize. But this is actually starts right here with us, what we think and what we do and what we subject ourselves to and what we allow ourselves to be subjected to. In our very first episode, we talked about how important it was for boundaries and to, you know, not go to holidays if we feel like it's going to disrupt our peace. But this is actually what we're talking about in that. And I know, you and I went back and forth a little bit about, well, it's hard and there's other pressures. But if you even believe this for 1%, if you believe this in the smallest degree possible, you understand the vibration that you're accepting and what it can do to you. And I was just thinking about this earlier. If you are interacting with somebody and they don't give you energy, so just think about energy. And as you mentioned, right, energy can't be created or destroyed. If something isn't giving you energy, then it's taking your energy, right? Because you're never at a constant. And if
Right.
something is taking energy, it's killing you.
For sure. It's completely depleting you.
So what's more important than that?
Probably nothing. It truly is magnificent. And it's hard to conceptualize and it's hard to exercise as well. And what I find is that when I have my quiet moments, so I created this little practice for myself. It's called Saturday Slowdown. And when I have my Saturday Slowdown, Um, I'm not thinking about work. I'm not thinking about bills. I'm not thinking about my recycling, right? Like, I'm not thinking about any of that. And so I can truly just be one with myself. And when that happens, I can start to pay more attention to nature. That's something I learned really during the pandemic is to slow down and be one with what's around me and what's in my environment. Um, so yesterday, I am having my Saturday slow down and I'm making breakfast, my gluten-free bread. I think I'm making these great choices. And I put on Snow White. I have a reason to tell this story because I want to move into the spiritual plane. And so I put on Snow White because it was a something my grandmother really loved. And so my grandmother has passed, and I was like, oh, Gram would love to watch this, right? Like, I would love to watch this. And I'm convinced that my grandmother is a bird. So she will visit me. Her energy will visit me in the form of a bird, specifically a bluebird. And I'm watching Snow White and I'm having my breakfast. And I realize that Snow White is holding a little bluebird on her hand in this animation from, the 1930s. And so this blows my mind. And I am able to like thoroughly be present for this moment because I'm in my Saturday slowdown. I'm not thinking about anything else. And then I realized that the bluebirds land on a deer. And my dad that raised me, my dad was an avid hunter, and I had been feeling their energy a lot the last couple of weeks. And so I immediately am like, what are you guys trying to tell me? Like I felt like their energy trying to connect with me. And in the midst of all this, I hear a high pitched ringing in my left ear, like a very high frequency. It gets very loud and then it fades out. And so I immediately text our sister, Ellen, and I was like, oh, I just heard like that high pitched sound again, high vibration. And so Ellen and I have actually been talking about this for like the last like week or two. Like we'll just ping each other when it happens. And the conversations we've had are like, well, we don't really know. We have to do more research about this. It's something that's really common with empaths. Empaths also get their energy drained very easily, right? And so I was like, oh, this just happened. And so I give her the context about making breakfast, the birds, all the nine. And just as this moment that I have this ringing in my ear, she tells me that her husband had just got a deer out hunting at the same exact time. And I know this is something we also want to delve into, like this idea about time and like male, female, but the synchronicity of it all. Like I was just casually having breakfast and I was like, oh, the bird, oh, this. But that's also like my reality, right? That I've created. Like I'm noticing these things. But the energetic connection is just undeniable. Like, I don't know why I heard that frequency in my ear. And I immediately reached out to Ellen and it just was all connected. She was like, oh, like the birds and the deer, like, oh, this just happened. Like, and there's another connecting piece. I guess he was also using, his father's materials, which, his father has passed as well. And so it felt very connected. And so when we talk about frequencies and spirit, um, I really want to delve more into it. Like, what's a frequency? What's an energetic, motion? Like, when are you noticing it? When are you not noticing it? Is it in those quiet moments? Do you just never notice it at all? Like, when we were getting ready to do this podcast, I don't know if I told you about it, but we were like amping up and I'd went to get the mail and I'm standing outside and, it's quiet. Like, not a lot of people around. There is one truck at the stoplight, and this truck at the stoplight has your last name across it. And I was like, I looked at the universe and I was like, guess we're doing a podcast. Like, like what are the odds? Like, what are the odds that I would walk outside, there would be no one around, and your name is just right in front of my face? Like, it's just stuff like that.
Mm. Do you think the energy is different between the physical and spiritual plane?
I think they're different vibrations. I think they're all energy. They just
Yeah,
operate at different velocity.
different frequencies. Yeah. I
Yeah.
I think it's important not to like I understand the tendency because obviously like we live in the physical plane. That's where we spend 99.9% of our waking moments. But I I'm not sure there's really a difference between the planes. I think they all exist on top of each other at the same time. And
Oh,
you mentioned yeah, that's what I think. And
I like it.
you mentioned sort of, you know, spirits coming to you with feel, right? Like you feel. Um but that's the same thing as in the physical plane. It's a vibration in whatever that looks like, and whether it's a sound or a color or wind or whatever it is. So, and you mentioned a few weeks ago, maybe last week, that that was the language of the spiritual realm, and it. I think you're exactly right, and it's this principle of vibration that explains that. But I don't I think we gotta be careful not to separate when we're talking on such a meta level, not to separate the physical, spiritual, and mental planes because they all exist on top of each other.
I like how you articulated that. Are they on top of each other or are they interwoven?
I don't know what the difference between those 2 definitions is. I
Well,
it
are
depends how
they
you conceptualize it.
well, right. Like, are they happening like one after another, like stacked, like on top of each other, or are they happening all at the same time?
Yeah, I think the way to view it is sort of all on top of each other, but then compressed into one.
So
So it's all the
simultaneously?
correct.
Okay. 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 I like it.
Yeah, 'cause I don't know how else could it be?
Well, I feel like how does I think mm,
Because if you say one after another, you're separating them. You're separating those
well
planes, and
well, right, but we're on the physical plane, right? Versus like somebody that has passed on, they're on a spiritual plane.
are we though? Are we on a physical I mean, that's our perception, like, that's how our brain
Well,
perceives the world around us, but
it's just our current matter of state at the moment,
that we
physiologically.
perceive. Yeah.
Right. Versus someone that's passed away, like they no longer are in their vessel, right? Like, so their energy is having a different experience than our energy, like presently at this very specific moment, right? Like
I mean
their energy might be a lot stronger than our energy because we're having a physical experience that's heavily distracted, but they're not. Like they're far more elevated, far more elevated, right?
yeah,
Like
agreed, but what are you doing? Are you doing, like, a location? Like, you're saying that their location is different? Because I agree with you completely, but I still don't understand the separation.
I think what I'm saying is that their energy is vibrating at a higher frequency. So
Sure.
because we're having a human experience, we have distractions in our day-to-day lives, but they're not having a human experience. So their energy is a lot stronger than our energy.
No, I agree with you. But if we go back to what we talked about earlier, like we perceive these solid states because our frequency is much lower, but it's all the same plane, right? It's all if we were able to vibrate at a higher frequency to perceive higher frequencies, we would still be in our existence, but able to just perceive much more. So we would just see everything that's actually happening around us along with the solid physical low vibration.
But
I, I
isn't
I'm
it the
having
same
trouble
thing though? Isn't it the same thing? Like if you're able to perceive more, right? Like your energy's operating at a different frequency. Like isn't
it's
that just the
exactly what I'm
same thing?
saying. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're saying the same thing.
But where are you saying that that energy operates? I guess I'm having trouble with your space and time.
I don't know if I have a good grasp on time necessarily. I don't know if that's
Yeah.
my role in the universe. So maybe that's what we're running into right now in real time.
Yeah, it could be. I guess I'm having trouble because what you're saying is that it's all happening simultaneously, meaning that everything, all vibrations are all around us always,
Well, I suppose, yeah,
but we're only able to perceive so many of them
because we're having a
because
human experience, right?
it's exactly right. Our level of consciousness just isn't high enough. But I'm having
But
I'm
we're not
having
having a
trouble. I'm having trouble.
continue
Where do you think the other energy is?
in it's the energy is around us, but we can't see it.
Yeah. Okay, we are saying the same thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It's just not
That's what.
tangible.
Well, not for us.
Right. Right.
Yes.
Because we're doing the
Okay.
vessel thing.
We are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just trying to understand like if you were thinking about planes as different locations is
Oh,
my
oh, oh.
question.
Oh, oh, oh.
Is that what you're doing?
I don't think they're different locations. I think they're different states of frequency.
Of existence. I agree,
Yeah.
but they all happen at the same time simultaneously.
Well, right, right.
Okay.
But they're just at different altitudes.
So when I question you there, I'm questioning like because the whole like resistance to the word God was surprising for me in the beginning of this
Uh,
podcast. I was not expect you to go there, um, because I think your background in religion is so strong. That's sort of like a reflex, which I think you should objectively look at. Because I think what you actually want to describe when we describe all these concepts is actually God, but we'll get there. So I was
Good
wondering
learning.
if you were, sort of applying this heaven concept to be like these planes are actually different time and location.
No, I don't think they're different in time. Well, that might be a different conversation about time and timelines. That might be something very different.
Yeah, we'll get there.
What I'm trying to say is that being in our vessel, it's not necessarily a jail sentence. It's we're just limited to the experience we can have with other energy. We are limited to our senses that we have as a vessel. So we can't operate at the same frequency as an energy that is not limited to their only five senses, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay. So then I think we are saying the same thing. What I'm saying is that we're not in a prison sentence like in our vessel and all we can experience is the prison. What I think is actually happening is it's more like we're in utopia, but we're wearing VR goggles that only show us prison.
Agreed. But isn't that the same as being limited only to your five senses?
Yes, I think it's exactly the same. But if you think about the analogy, it's like both are happening at the same time, right? And there's different like your perceived time in the game, and that's why I want to use an analogy because it's hard for me to understand what you're thinking otherwise. Like the time that you're experiencing in a game is total if you ever play video games, like it's totally different, right? And it's not like it's not like the real time. It's not the reality of time. But when you take the VR set off, or if you were to even be able to like just peek, you realize that that time that you're perceiving is just actually doesn't exist at all.
So this okay. So what comes to my mind, what just sparked in my mind is I don't know if this is parallel or not, but it's similar to sleep. So you could sleep for 8, 9, 10 hours, but that sleep when you wake up, it doesn't feel like 8, 9, 10 hours. It feels like 2, 3 seconds.
Right.
Is that pretty parallel?
Yeah, it's exactly parallel. Yeah.
And I think they say that you're at a different level of consciousness when you sleep.
Absolutely. And when you look at, and this goes back to frequency and vibration. So like when you're asleep, your brain has like these alpha waves, and it's a
Theta.
totally different frequency that your brain's operating in.
But this is what I was trying to say earlier about when I do my Saturday slowdown and I quiet the noise and I have these quiet moments, I'm able to have these spiritual experiences, right? So when I sleep, I can't begin to tell you the things that I see and interact with in my sleep because I'm not having my human experience. I'm having a different consciousness experience. And so I can interact with different energetic fields, right? That I can't do in my everyday life, right? When I'm at work, whatever, commuting. But when I'm sleeping, right? Like people that have passed on, that energy, right? Like their vessel's gone, but their energy connects and speaks to mine.
So your Saturday slowdown allows you to raise your frequency, raise your level of consciousness to a place where you can perceive what's always there and always happening.
Right.
Then we are
Right.
saying the same exact thing.
Right.
Good for us.
I'm elated. This is, I'm sure you could feel my frequency. I'm so excited.
Well, I'm glad that we could come together and figure out we are saying the same thing.
Thank you for being open minded and delving into it and unpacking it and being patient. And maybe that's just the key is being patient. The interpretation is different, but maybe that's the 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 key. Maybe that's the trick and the secret is that everyone has different definitions, but we're all saying the same thing. And maybe that's
Yeah.
how we get to the ultimate goal of that collective consciousness because we are one, right? Like we are spirit.
Okay, so we've concluded that our vibration's important. How that actually manifests itself is still up for discussion. What are some practical ways that we can actually work with the law of vibration? And what tips can we give our listeners for how to spot bad vibes and how to improve our own lives using the law of vibration?
That's a great question. I think first and foremost is to develop a confidence in your intuition. I think that's a good
Mm.
place to start. And coming from a place of self love and self trust will be your foundation to navigate in the world and navigate all those different energies around you. It's probably a good place to start. What do you
Yeah, I
think?
love that. I love that. And for me, it's probably to not de-emphasize the importance of protecting our energy. I
Hmm.
think that when we think about situations and feel emotions specifically involving other people or the decisions that we make for ourselves, and we have to always ask ourselves, does this give us more energy or does this take energy? And everything we do should give us more energy. And if we're constantly feeling tired and unmotivated and down, then maybe the choices that we're making, the people that we're surrounded by, the environment that we're in is draining our life energy. And there is nothing more important in the world. And we have to do whatever it takes at all costs to improve that.
Yes, yes, that's perfect. I like how you articulated that. As Gabrielle Bernstein would say, it feels good to feel good, and you have to protect your energy.
You do. You definitely do.
Yeah. And also, I think it's incredibly important. One last tidbit is to stay open minded, right? Like being open to other people's perspectives and also drawing that boundary, right? If that energy that you're interacting with is a little too aggressive, and just knowing when to draw the line to protect that good energy.
Yeah. And, just to come off of that and add, we have to, this is a feel thing, right? Like
Mhm.
what gives us energy? It's not what people tell us give us energy, it's what we feel. And to your point about being open, we have to be open to feeling energy that maybe we're not necessarily told is going to increase energy because we're all so different and specific in what life forces we need. So I think that's a great point that you make.
Yeah, and sometimes, we're exposed to things that make us uncomfortable. Like, for like a small story, I was reflecting about how I'm just getting comfortable being uncomfortable, like, because I'm constantly learning something new, and change is just inevitable. Um, but I think if you're comfortable with being uncomfortable, you could learn and expand and transcend, right? With that
Yeah,
open mind.
I agree.
This has been lovely. We have a very
Okay,
peaceful energy today.
I do.
We do.
It's good.
It's not all about you, Tim.
Okay, how do you want to end this?
Oh my goodness. The way I want to end this is I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to everybody that has joined us. Thank you for coming along, and welcome to everybody that's new to the podcast. And maybe even thank you to the universe and God. What an opportunity to do this. I'm serious. I'm serious.
It's good.
There's a
I
lot
j-
of
it,
strain in the world, and we're very lucky that we get to share and interact and do this.
so, but you use the word God, so maybe we got a little bit closer today.
Oh, that warms my whole soul. I feel very excited.
Good. This gave you energy.
It did. I hope I reciprocated the energy.
You did. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe. Share with somebody who you feel could use a boost of energy. Thank you very much.
Thank you.